My dears, gather round, because we have a truly fascinating, and dare I say, utterly jaw-dropping piece of royal intrigue to unpack today. It's a tale that stretches from the gilded halls of a sprawling estate to a more modest farmhouse, a narrative woven with threads of defiance, expectation, and a stubborn refusal to accept a dramatically altered reality. At its heart lies a single, seemingly innocuous detail, a series of labels on moving boxes. But oh, what those labels reveal about the man at the center of this storm, Prince Andrew, Duke of York. You see, the decision was made, years ago, quite publicly and with an undeniable air of finality. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor would no longer be styled as His Royal Highness. It was a declaration echoed across the globe, a public stripping away of a title intrinsically linked to his royal standing and duties. And yet, if recent reports are to be believed, as his worldly possessions made their way to his new, significantly smaller abode at Marsh Farm, something truly extraordinary, and frankly, rather brazen, occurred. Multiple boxes, not just one or two, but a veritable fleet of them, arrived emblazoned with stark, undeniable labels: Her Royal Highness Office, Her Royal Highness Sitting Room, even Her Royal Highness Meeting Room. Can you imagine? An entire household, meticulously organized around a title he is, officially, no longer meant to use. And this, my friends, begs a very simple, yet profoundly unsettling question. If the title has been banished, why on earth are his staff still being instructed to employ it? Because what is quietly, yet powerfully, unfurling before our very eyes is not merely the logistical challenge of a house move. Oh no, this is something far more telling. This is a discernible pattern emerging, a stubborn thread in the fabric of Andrew's post-scandal existence, suggesting a deep-seated resistance to truly internalize the seismic shift in his fortunes. It hints at a man still struggling, perhaps even refusing, to come to terms with the precipitous fall from grace he has endured. Let us begin by mapping out the known facts, the undeniable touchstones of this unfolding drama. Over the past few days, a veritable cascade of hundreds of boxes has been observed arriving at Marsh Farm. This particular property, a charming, 5-bedroom dwelling nestled within the vast Sandringham estate, is now understood to be Andrew's permanent residence. This move, in itself, represents a monumental change, a stark geographical and symbolic departure from his previous home, Royal Lodge. For those unfamiliar, Royal Lodge was no mere cottage, it was a sprawling, 30-room residence, a property steeped in history and, crucially, long associated with the very pinnacle of senior royal status. To relinquish such an address was not just a relocation, it was a visually striking, undeniably public demotion, a tangible manifestation of his altered position within the royal firmament. Now, according to the hushed whispers and more overt reports circulating, this transition was far from smooth sailing. Oh, the drama! It was reportedly beset by delays, a testament, perhaps, to the sheer difficulty of downsizing from such an opulent existence. There were even suggestions, tantalizingly hinted at, that Andrew initially harbored desires for access to more than one property during this transitional phase, perhaps hoping to soften the blow of losing his grand estate. But eventually, as all things must, the move proceeded. It was intended to be a quiet affair, a discreet shift of belongings, a subtle re-anchoring of his life away from the prying eyes of the public. However, as is so often the case with royal sagas, it was not the move itself that captured attention, but the excruciatingly revealing details surrounding it. As workers, presumably under strict instructions, diligently carried box after box into the newly renovated Marsh Farm, several were unmistakably cited with those damning labels: Her Royal Highness Office, Her Royal Highness Sitting Room, Her Royal Highness Meeting Room. And my dears, this detail speaks volumes. Because in the meticulously structured, protocol-driven world of royal households, titles are not bandied about casually. Staff, those dedicated individuals who keep the wheels of the monarchy turning, do not make assumptions. They certainly do not invent labels or spontaneously decide on forms of address. They follow directives. They adhere to protocol. Which, by logical extension, means those labels are not some whimsical oversight. They are a direct reflection of how that private household is currently being managed. And, perhaps more significantly, they illuminate how Andrew still, to this very day, expects to be addressed and acknowledged behind the meticulously closed doors of his new home. Officially, let us be absolutely crystal clear, he is unequivocally not permitted to employ his Royal Highness title in any public-facing or working capacity. This stringent restriction was a direct and unavoidable consequence of his deeply troubling association with the late Jeffrey Epstein, a scandal that ultimately led to his ignominious removal from all royal duties and the painful stripping back of his myriad roles. It was a calculated, albeit painful, maneuver by the monarchy, a broader, desperate effort to create a necessary, unbridgeable distance between the crown and the toxic fallout of the scandal. So, when those labels, those undeniable echoes of a bygone era, surface, they create an immediate, glaring contradiction. Publicly, the title has been eradicated. Privately, it appears to be not only alive and well, but thriving, and this, my friends, is where the narrative truly begins to reveal its deeper, more complex layers. Because this isn't some isolated incident, a solitary lapse in judgment or an unfortunate accident of labeling. No, this is not happening in a vacuum. For years, the palace corridors have buzzed with reports, whispers, and even outright accounts concerning Andrew's behavior with his staff. Descriptions have painted a consistent picture, demanding, incredibly particular about even the minutiae of protocol, and consistently expecting a level of deference and formality that unmistakably harkens back to his previous, exalted status. It has been alleged, in various circles, that he continues to refer to himself as Prince Andrew, within the confines of his private domain. So, when we connect these dots, when we place these long-standing behavioral patterns alongside an entire suite of rooms meticulously labeled, Her Royal Highness, it begins to feel less like a mere force of habit, a lingering relic of a forgotten past, and much, much more like a deliberate, entrenched expectation. Yet, simultaneously, almost everything in Andrew's external world has undergone a profound transformation. Marsh Farm, as we've noted, is decidedly not Royal Lodge. It is, by all accounts, a charming 5-bedroom farmhouse, recently refurbished with fresh carpets and pristine flooring. For many of us, it would represent a beautiful, comfortable home. But for a man accustomed to the grandeur of a 30-room estate, it is an undeniable, significant step down the property ladder, a tangible symbol of his diminished standing. Even the security arrangements, usually a discreet, almost invisible aspect of royal life, feel different here. An electric fence has reportedly been installed around the property, an almost symbolic barrier, creating a palpable sense of separation from the broader Sandringham estate, a quiet enclosure of his new, constrained reality. And then, there's the quiet, yet thunderous, message sent by the king himself. Just recently, His Majesty stayed at Sandringham, a mere 2 miles from Andrew's new residence. And yet, the king did not pay his brother a visit. Not a single call. Not a moment shared. That, my dears, was a message, delivered with the devastating precision of royal protocol, a clear indication of the continuing distance and disapproval, and let us not forget the truly startling events of last month. Andrew was, astonishingly, arrested and questioned by police for a grueling period of more than 10 hours. During this intensely humiliating ordeal, he was reportedly referred to in the most stark, unadorned terms, simply as, detainee A. No titles. No special status. Just a neutral, clinical identifier used by custody staff, stripping him of every vestige of his former life. Sources close to the situation have whispered that he was, to his immense chagrin, treated like a common criminal, an experience that reportedly really set him off. All of these incidents, taken together, present a stark, almost brutal contrast. On one side, a system that systematically, relentlessly, removes every last trace of his former rank and privilege. On the other, a private household that appears to be stubbornly, defiantly, still organized around his former titles and status, still employing them as if the world outside, the world of scandal and public opprobrium, had simply ceased to exist. The very contents of those moving boxes, mundane as they might seem, add another fascinating layer to this unfolding narrative. Clothes, treasured antiques, a collection of books, personal belongings among them, a copy of My Life on Mars by Colin Pillinger, detailing the ambitious Beagle 2 project. Ordinary items, yes, on their own. But when viewed through the lens of this momentous move, carefully packed, clearly labeled, and meticulously transported into a home that is undeniably much smaller, they begin to tell a broader, more poignant story. It is the story of someone carrying an entire old life, with all its associated expectations and paraphernalia, into a profoundly different, significantly diminished reality. And as if Andrew's own situation wasn't complex enough, his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, is simultaneously facing renewed scrutiny of her own. There is now a motion slated for a vote, a debate regarding whether she should be stripped of the freedom of the City of York honor, an accolade she received way back in 1987. So, while Andrew attempts to settle into the relative quiet of Marsh Farm, the wider situation, the relentless scrutiny and the ever-present shadow of past indiscretions, continues to evolve around him, which, my friends, inevitably brings us full circle, back to the central, inescapable issue, those labels. Because they are so much more than mere words scrawled on cardboard. They are a profound reflection of how a household is instructed to operate. They reveal how staff are expected to behave. They speak volumes about how Andrew, despite everything, still expects to be addressed and treated. And in this particular, highly charged context, they strongly suggest that despite the cataclysmic events that have transpired, despite the public loss of titles, roles, and his once unassailable public standing, very little, if anything, may have truly changed behind the scenes. Could it be, dare I suggest, that this entire public spectacle of demotion has been, at least in his private world, nothing more than smoke and mirrors? This, my dears, is precisely what makes this story so utterly compelling, so difficult to simply dismiss. It's not just the mechanics of a house move. It's the deeply unsettling possibility that even now, even after such a public and painful reckoning, Andrew is still clinging with unyielding tenacity to a version of his royal position that, to the rest of the world, simply no longer exists. It suggests that behind the protective walls of his private residences, he continues to live the same life he always has, insulated, perhaps, from the full weight of the consequences. And if recent reports are to be believed, even the move itself was far from a quiet, understated affair behind the scenes. Some outlets have described what they termed brazen demands during the transition to Marsh Farm, with staff reportedly placed under immense pressure to meet incredibly particular expectations as every single detail was meticulously arranged to his liking. From the precise arrangement of rooms to the seamless continuation of his daily routine, the tone reportedly remained unyielding, formal, and rigidly structured, much as it had been during his tenure at Royal Lodge. Absolutely nothing about this process suggested a man gracefully scaling back, accepting his new reality. If anything, it painted a vivid picture of someone desperately trying to recreate the exact same environment, the same aura of untouchable privilege, just within the confines of a smaller space, with staff still expected to adhere to the same exacting standards, the same formal language, and, it would most certainly seem, the same, now forbidden, title. But if you, like me, have been following this intricate royal saga for some time, none of this, I must confess, comes as a particular surprise. Andrew's deeply ingrained sense of entitlement stretches far beyond what many of us could even begin to comprehend, and former staff members have been speaking out about it, in hushed tones and more openly, for decades. While I find it genuinely concerning, perhaps even profoundly disturbing, that he is apparently still utilizing these titles behind closed doors, I cannot, in good conscience, claim to find it surprising. So, my dear friends, let me pose this question directly to you. Do you believe this is simply the quiet, almost subconscious continuation of old habits, a lingering echo of a past that refuses to fade? Or does it suggest something far more deliberate, a defiant assertion of how he still expects, indeed demands, to be addressed, regardless of official pronouncements? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you wish to stay abreast of all the fascinating twists and turns in stories like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the labyrinthine world of royal drama.